Okay. Hey, how's it going,
Oh, we're
everybody?
doing it now. Okay.
I don't know, I guess.
Sure. Yep. We're rolling. We're rolling.
I don't know. Hey, welcome to another episode of our cinema review show thing. And we've come up with a title for it officially.
Yes. What is the title for that?
We are going to call it MovieKombat.
Yeah. Yeah. It's official.
Maybe we'll have a fun intro or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm working on it. But
They already know what the name is, though, because the first episode already came out.
Oh, that's true.
So.
Crap. I didn't
But
think about
but
that.
but we're excited because now
Yeah.
we have the title of the show. So.
Yeah, think about it. Well, it's like you went back in the past but saw the future
Exactly.
or something. I
It's
don't
like
know.
it's like Avengers. You have the ability to go back in time now.
Yeah.
You know the knowledge that we don't.
I heard an interesting theory about that today, actually, that maybe the dimension just split and the other half of the people.
I've also heard this, but this is
Yeah.
not what this is talking about.
Oh.
We are talking about in this episode Predator 2.
Oh, should we introduce ourselves? In
Sure.
Case they
I don't know.
Because I forgot that we didn't do that.
Go ahead.
I'm Josh.
I'm Ryan.
Okay, hey, how's it going?
And we are talking about the 1990 film Predator 2.
Yep.
And starring our boy Danny Glover.
Yeah, and Gary Busey's in it as well.
I know there was
And
there was a lot of
Bill-
people in this movie.
Bill Paxton, I forgot he was in it.
I was very shocked to see
Yes.
the movie too.
And so here's the first thing, though. The first movie, just on the side note, was in 1987, and it took place in 1987. But the second movie is filmed in 1990, but takes place in the far distant future of 1997.
That's true.
10 years after the
just so they
original
can make
events of
a
the
reference.
Predator.
By
Yeah.
the way, before we get into the nitty gritty of the of the movie, just a little bit of some house cleaning. I want to do some house cleaning here. This is a movie podcast that is strictly all spoilers, so don't get butthurt about it. But here's the thing. You guys can join us on our magical journey because we will be telling you guys what movie we're going to be watching in the next episode so that you guys can be prepared, and then you can come back here and listen to this episode. So if you haven't seen the 1990 film Predator 2, then go watch that and then come back here and then listen to this episode. If you've seen Predator and didn't listen to our first podcast, go listen to the first episode of this season because it's going to be – they're all in order because we are ranking these as the best ones of them all. So right now, Predator has taken the crown as the Primal movie right now.
Yes.
So we are going to see if Predator 2 has held its own against Predator. All right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. So spoiler warning because we're just going to go blasting through this movie. Anyway, that's the house cleaning. Why don't you lead us through this? How are we going to do this here today?
Okay, so first I'm just gonna say that Predator 2 is a little bit goofier than the first one.
Oh man, that's a slight understatement of how far and beyond they go in this one.
I have fun with this movie just because of how over the top it is, and it's so the very first thing you'll notice is as it starts, it's a jungle theme music and it's going all through these trees and stuff, and then it zooms up onto LA, the urban jungle, you know, and it's just like and then Predator 2 just flashes across the screen. There is no no fancy intro or nothing like that. It just gets right to the chase.
That's definitely what I noticed. Like the movie definitely just hits its it finds its speed and then it just keeps going through the it just speeds right through. Is like, you already have seen Predator, so here's Predator 2, and like it just mows it down.
This one's on full blast because it opens on a full-on turf war in the middle of future Los Angeles.
I wrote Los Angeles is a war zone.
Yeah, and I think I put God, where was it?
Did you get the hardcore special report?
Well, yeah, I didn't take notes on the actual reports.
Oh no, I didn't either. But it was
the dubbing on the reports was so terrible. Like it just sounded like somebody was sitting in a studio talking into a microphone, whereas people who were out on the street screaming these lines, it didn't sound like they were winded, like they were screaming,
or like they were being shot at.
Yeah, like it was so ridiculous. And then all the gunfights and just like the guns sounded worse in this one than the first one. I think.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they were definitely pretty bad.
You know?
Though then again, Danny Glover's pistol looks like an upgraded video game gun.
Oh my god!
Like
All
it looks like
guns,
he had got
dude.
a gun and then he had put attachments like he had
Yes.
unlocked through the rest of the game.
It was like he was going through Gun Game and Call of Duty or something.
Yeah.
And he put a scope and a flashlight, and even the other characters, they all had wacky guns
Yeah.
too. Because I think
What was that chrome piece that Danny Glover had on his, and then the girl had it on below
on
it,
the bottom,
and
it had all these weird little wires hanging out
Yeah,
of it and stuff, and it was like, what is that? A flashlight? Is that mace? Like, I don't get it, you know. But I was gonna say that the one thing I really enjoy about Predator 1 compared to Predator 2, at least, is that Predator 1 seems very timeless when you watch it. Like, you watch it now and you'd be like, when was this movie shot? Like, did this come out a few years ago? And no, it came out in 1987. It still looks fantastic. Like, the special effects are a little dated, yes.
Yeah.
But overall, in just the film quality and the cinematography of it, fantastic. This one, you can definitely tell it was a 90s movie shot in the 90s.
Yeah.
And thinking what the future was going to be like in the late 90s. Like, you can tell it's a 90s movie just because of the way it's shot.
Yeah, well, I was watching it with my roommate Nate, and he was like talking about how it's a movie that doesn't know the transition between the 80s and the 90s.
Yes.
So you're like, because it's definitely true, because like 90s didn't really become the 90s until like 95. So
yeah,
it's like,
it was because it was like, I want to say in like 93, 94 is when the 90s started finding itself.
Yeah.
You know, like, because that was when other movies were starting to come out, and those 80s trends were starting to die off, like the parachute pants and the bright colors. And
or
things like
you
that.
could definitely see like Bill Paxton's wearing like this suit jacket that's three times bigger than he is.
Yeah, he looks like Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah, like somebody else, like Arnold could probably wear the jacket. But anyway, do you have any beginning notes here? I got a couple more here. But
so the gang wars, I thought, okay, so the gang war I thought was pretty funny, and then Danny Glover makes quite an entrance. He comes speeding through all these
like
cops
a bat
and,
out of hell.
Yeah, civilians, and he's just yelling at people to get out of the way, and then he slams his car and jumps out, and he's just like, "Oh, give me an idea what's going on here." And then he breaks his door off his car at one point because he's trying to save these people, and it's just crazy. And then the only other thing that I really noticed that I thought was really funny was when some of the bad guys retreat into this place and they're getting all armed up, and the cops are trying to get in there. This one dude like snorts a bunch of coke.
Yeah, I do have that handful of cocaine.
Yeah, and then he goes and just starts freaking out, and it's like, dude, coke doesn't work like that. Like,
yeah, it kicked in real quick.
Yeah, like I don't think that's how that drug works. You know, it's not like an adrenaline shot. You know. Like,
I also found it really weird that Predator's heat vision was really early on.
Yes, I.
This is like before the 20-minute mark, where
it was the 10-minute mark. Literally,
in the first movie, Predator doesn't even happen to be around until like 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. This one, it was funny because as soon as the Predator's vision popped up, I was like, Predator vision? I bet this is 10 minutes in. And I looked at it, and it was 10:03, and I was like, I knew it! Well, I knew it was 10 minutes.
Because, you know, we gave a huge compliment to the first movie of having Predator, like, we didn't have to sit through the whole thing. Yes. Like, he shows up really early. They must have, like... other people must have said the same thing, and the director was like, "We're gonna do it in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
we're not doing it in 20."
Like this is how I saw the Predator reveal in this movie compared to the first one. Basically, all the time in between the first time you see the Predator and then every subsequent time it reveals like more and more parts of the Predator, everything's been cut down by half in this movie. Like
almost, yeah.
Yeah, Predator shows
or
up.
doubled 3 times.
Yeah, that's true. Because like Predator's vision shows up like 10 minutes in, and I want to say like 20 minutes you actually get a glimpse of him and stuff. Yeah. And then well, and I got a note on that too in a little bit, I guess. But
like I love how also Danny blows like 5 guys away with a shotgun, and then Predator does this like drool laugh, this like thing. It's so weird.
That was the thing I was going to talk about, because basically he chases the last guy up onto the roof of the building, because like the Predator shows up and just massacres all the bad guys inside their own base, and then when the cops go in, they're like, what the hell happened? And then they end up chasing the last guy out, I think. And he's standing on the roof, and Danny Glover's trying to talk him down.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Put down the guns, man! Don't do it!" And the guy lifts up the guns because he sees the Predator. So Danny Glover blows him away, and he falls off the building. But then when Danny Glover turns around, like a couple minutes later, the predator like is looking at him and he's freaking out, and then I love the over the top cop stances from the 80s where they spread the horse stance and they stick their arms
Danny
way
definitely
out.
knows how to do it, from like his Lethal Weapon to this. He does the quick jumps.
It's ridiculous. Like they're squatting down like 2 feet and it's just it just looks ridiculous. But he sees the predator, but he doesn't think he sees it, and then the predator just ducks and goes.
Oh, he does it again?
Well, no, it's just when he ducks the first time, he just does that hiss laugh or whatever. Because then it turns back and he's not there, and he's like, I think I'm seeing things or whatever, and it's like, yeah, it was there. Where'd it go?
I do like the line that Danny Glover uses when he enters into the the feds are coming here, and then he goes, the feds can kiss my sweet ass. And I was like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Dude, I think Danny Glover told like 10 people to fuck you. Like,
and also everyone doesn't know how to shoot a fucking gun.
Oh, absolutely not. No, they're standing literally 5 feet from each other. They cannot hit each other worth a damn. Like, it is amazing how often people don't get shot in this movie.
Yeah, and then people get conveniently shot in the movie.
Right.
And you're like, dude, you just unloaded on this dude and you shot him one time?
Yeah. So yeah, it's just oh my god, just the whole opening.
This is
scene.
like the first 25 minutes of the movie.
And I was just about to say, this is only like the first 20 minutes, and it's so just crazy. Like they're just wanting to get into. This is a straight up just action movie. Like this isn't a suspenseful action movie or like a horror style action movie like the first one was. This one's just like crazy nuts.
Yeah. I do like the helicopter that lands in the middle of the street too.
Oh yeah, that's
You're
right.
just like what?
And then and so this actually introduces a new character, right? Because this is when the feds show up.
Yes, this is Gary Busey that pops up.
Yeah, Gary Busey's character. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This isn't the chief, which I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah, because the chief showed up at some point too.
And then he yells at Danny Glover, and then Danny Glover's like, "I don't need to. You can't tell me what to do." And this is that.
Yeah, and he's freaking out. He's getting ready to fight his own boss.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
And then his friend Danny Boy or whatever he's got.
Danny Boy,
which I can't remember that dude's name, but I've seen him in some movies too.
Yeah, but his character is Danny Boy.
Yeah,
his name's Danny, but we're not going to refer to him as Danny because we're referring Danny Glover as his character.
Right. Yeah.
As his normal name.
I have no idea what his name was in the movie.
I could not tell you any of these people's names.
Yeah.
I literally wrote them in my notes as Danny Glover and Gary Busey. And Bill Paxton.
And I think the girl's name was Ophelia or something, but I don't even know her. I don't know if that was right or not. It might have been like Lenora. I don't know.
I mean, I could
the girl
check,
cop,
really.
But, I mean, it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna learn.
Danny Glover played Mike Harrigan.
Oh,
Harrigan,
that's right. Yeah,
and then Gary Busey played Peter Keyes.
So I know Keyes. Yeah, because the only reason why and
then Kevin Peter Hall played the Predator.
Oh, okay, so he
the same guy.
His role,
Same Predator is playing the Predator again.
That's pretty cool. At least he reprised his role.
Yeah.
So this is when Keyes shows up. Like the boss is played.
Leona.
Leona. Okay, I was close. It ended in an A. So.
And then Jerry Lambert is Bill Paxton.
Oh, okay. And then who was I can't remember the boss's name, but he's an actor too that you would recognize from a couple movies. Like he's been in some stuff.
Captain that's Robert DeVee? I don't know.
No, not the captain. It was like the
Kent McCord?
The vice captain, I think.
Captain B. Pilgrim. I don't know. These are some people I have no idea who these people are.
Yeah, P. whatever was his direct boss, and then the guy above that dude was the
Captain B. Pilgrim.
Yeah, Pilgrim was Danny Glover's like
boss's boss, right?
No, that was his direct boss, and then Danny Glover's boss's boss was the guy who showed up and yelled at him. He was like, I forget what his name. He's like the vice corporal of cops or whatever. I can't even remember. Either way, he's not important because he only shows up in the movie like 2 times, and he's basically there to be a stick up someone's ass. But Danny Glover, he tries to fight that dude, and then that's when Keyes shows up. And then just an interesting quick side note about Keyes. So Keyes was originally supposed to be Dutch, but Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't like the idea of it being in the city, so he turned down starring or coming back for the movie, and so then they had to rewrite the script to fit in basically Dutch's boss, because Keyes is the one who sent him into the jungle in the first place. He's the one who called the general.
So Gary Busey is the one that called the general to call Dutch.
Exactly. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and so apparently there's this whole backstory about like Keyes, and you find this out like there's like little trivia bits and stuff, and then there's like comics that relate to the movie because there's actually some other stuff later on in the movie that I want to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so from the background that you learn, it's basically he's the one who sent Dutch's crew or called the general to call Dutch and then or called Dylan. I don't know who he called.
Dylan.
Yeah, he basically is the one who got Dutch there or got them to get Dutch there, and then I want to say it was like Dutch was like 6 months after the event happened. Dutch was like had radiation poisoning, and then he just disappeared. And so that's because then when they're showing that video. They're showing like a video later on of some of the stuff from the first movie, or not necessarily the movie itself.
Oh yeah, that's way towards okay. But speaking of in the background, dude, the police station is a bit packed.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's a guy that like headbutts a cop, and this is where we also see Bill Paxton, swinging his dick around, talking about how cool he is.
Yes.
So,
and then I thought of a funny thing too, because. So Bill Paxton's character in this movie, he also stars in Aliens, which we'll talk about that.
Yeah, that's a little down the road. That's a little bit down the road there.
But in my mind, this kind of helps tie the two universes together, because maybe this is
or maybe there might be some other stuff happening.
Well, yeah, there is. But this might be an ancestor of Bill Paxton's character in the future. You know, like maybe he had a daughter who got married to another guy, and then maybe a couple generations later they had a kid who looked just like him.
Yeah, could.
That's just my theory on it, but I don't think it actually is true. I just like to think it is.
There's also a really good line from Danny Glover, where he's they're talking down to him a little bit in the police station, and he goes, "It's cutting off my dick and shoving it up my ass." And I was like, what? I was like, there were so many times where they were like just trying to do the one-liners that they did in the first movie, because this is a different writer too and a different director.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And
so, completely different
but it's like there's so many times like Bill Paxton. I even wrote like later in this, Bill Paxton makes jokes like Glasses did in the first movie, but they're like really not good.
Right.
Like they're really
like,
not good.
They're really trying hard for that first movie like nuance, but they're just not hitting it home, because one of my problems with this movie over the first one is there's just not as many quotable lines. Like it's
I don't know, cutting off my dick and shoving it up my ass is a little bit of a
right. Like there's a couple, like, don't get me wrong, there are a couple good ones, but it's not near, like I could probably quote like half Predator 1.
Oh yeah, I couldn't tell you these lines if I wanted to.
Yeah, whereas if somebody was like, quote a line for Predator 2, I'd be like, motherfucker.
Yeah,
fuck you.
That's said in there.
You know, like those. Yeah, both of those they say it multiple times. You know.
I will say one thing that they did bring over from the first movie to the second movie is they sweat a lot in this movie as well.
Yes,
because it's like record-breaking heat in LA.
109 degrees in Los Angeles this morning is what the news report I think said towards the beginning of the movie. And I would just like to say, for any of you guys that are interested, 22 minutes in, titties.
Also, there's a ball-grabbing woman too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
The police chick grabs Bill Paxton because he's grabs his Paxton.
Yeah,
because he's talking game.
Yeah, he's all like, "I'm huge" or whatever, and then she's like, "Oh, don't make me take your balls off," or whatever.
But yes, a dude is getting a ride while he gets raided.
Yes, yeah, and then the Jamaican, what was it? The Jamaican Devil Posse?
I don't know. Something? I just know that they referred to him as the Jamaicans, which I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, because originally, like the gang war that you open up on, essentially was, I think those are Colombians, and so it was supposed to be
in Los Angeles.
Yeah, something like that. Like
that would be like Florida. I would say the Colombians would be in like.
Well, they're some kind of Spanish nation. I don't know where they're from.
Could be just Mexican.
You know, but yeah, I just can't remember.
They might be
Cambodian, maybe. I don't know, but whatever. Anyway,
Cambodians are Mexican.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a nation.
Yeah.
But you know, they're from somewhere else, and then the gang wars between the Jamaicans and that group, and so that one gang gets wiped out in the very beginning, and then the Jamaicans show up at like one of their boss's houses or something. Like there's still a few of those members left, and so they show up and they're gonna like gut this dude, you know, and they're all doing these voodoo
while he's
rituals.
Getting up in guts.
Yeah, man, that poor girl, man, she was just trying to get laid, and then all of a sudden these guys show up and they start cutting out hearts.
Like, it was definitely a different situation than the last one.
Yeah.
But 25 minutes into the movie, we get a full-fledged Predator.
Right, yeah, and so the Predator shows up and he just starts fucking kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah, he has a cool like constricting net gun.
Yes,
That's
was
pretty cool.
That was one of my notes. New weapons. There's the net. There's the spear that he has.
Yeah, he does bring out the spear. For some reason,
spear.
though, not invisible. Did you notice that?
The spear?
Yeah, when he pulls the spear out, it's not invisible like he is. Like, he's still invisible while he's holding the spear.
I wonder if it has to be, like, attached to his back, or, like, maybe it's got to be plugged in somewhere to, like, his suit. Because, yeah, I don't really know how that works. I'm not sure. Or maybe each individual piece has to have cloaking technology. I don't know. Or maybe it's just for effect to make you be like, oh, God, he's got a huge spear. And, and it retracts, too, which is the coolest part. And then he had that little pistol with the spear darts in it, I think, or something.
Yeah, because then Danny Boy goes on and finds one of them.
Yeah,
but he does not make it too far past that.
And then so before we get to that part, there was the Bill Paxton underwear joke. Do you remember that one? So he was
something about a swamp.
Yeah, he was like, I needed to go to the doctor's office, and the doctor was like, okay, I need a stool sample, a urine sample, and a semen sample. And he's like, well, I'm kind of running out of time. Why don't I just give you my underwear instead? It's like, such a terrible.
I was
joke.
like, what does that even?
Oh my God, that's awful.
That's
like,
so gross.
But I guess.
And he told it to a girl,
right?
He
yeah,
told it to a woman.
He's telling that to because him and that chick were partners at this point. Like they became partners because he was the new recruit in town or whatever. He had been transferred over.
Yeah, and Danny Glover was with Danny Boy.
Yeah, and so then Danny Boy basically, like, the feds come in. They're trying to stop the crime scene because, like, you see a bunch of skinned bodies in the building,
but he didn't skin. Predator didn't skin the Mexican guy.
Yeah, because I think it was because he was already dead. Like,
maybe.
I think
it wasn't his trophy to collect.
Correct. Yeah,
but he didn't kill the woman either.
Yeah, and I'm assuming. I'm only guessing. Well, I guess they do kind of briefly mention it later on in the movie, but this Predator compared to the first one has a very high moral code.
Yeah, there's some rules he sets down.
Yeah, we could touch on that in a little while once we get to some of those areas in the movie, but he's not as mean as the first Predator.
Yeah,
he doesn't just kill outlandishly.
Yeah, he does it. He definitely seems like he's doing it for sport.
Yes.
And not for just the hell of it kind of thing.
Yeah, and then there's a throwaway line later on in the movie, which, I mean, I guess it's not really important, but essentially they say he's attracted to violence and heat. So wherever it's hot and wherever it's really violent, because they talk about they've been tracking him for a little while or something, and they're like, wherever it's hot and violent, that's where they go, and it's like, okay, Los Angeles, I guess.
But yeah, after, do you have anything before Danny Boy goes away?
Oh, no, so basically the feds show up, and they're trying to stop the crime scene, and then,
they kick everyone out.
Yes.
And then Danny Glover breaks the rules that he was given.
Yeah.
Sends Danny Boy
he's a
out.
rebel.
Sends Danny Boy out to do his dirty work.
Yes.
To go and find more clues.
Yep.
And then that's where he finds the little dart thing that Predator shot. And then he dies.
and there was a funny scene because when he's reaching for the dart, he's like,
why is he going from the farthest point ever?
He could have clearly walked around. It's stuck in an AC unit of some sort or ventilation shaft of something, and it's clear that he can walk around it and get to it from another side, but he decides to reach from it from the farthest point, and he's stretching, and he's like, like he's gonna fall off. And then he
But
grabs
if he would have went the other way, he would have stopped Predator.
Exactly. and then because Predator at some point, like while Danny Glover was talking to Danny Boy, he's like, oh, hey Danny Boy, blah 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 blah, and then Predator's recording his voice, and so when Predator
just like
shows
in the first
up,
movie,
yes, yeah, and so and Predator throughout the scenes when you see Predator, he's like listening to the voices and stuff, and you see him like recording stuff, but he doesn't really use it as much in this movie. Like it's kind of pointless even showing that, other than this one scene where when he shows up, he's like Danny Boy, and he sounds completely different than Danny Glover's character. It's like not even close to being the same like the first movie was, and he turns around and he's like Harrigan, and then he ends up and it's so comedic the way he dies, like, because instead of just the Predator killing him and then you hear a scream like in the first one, he punches him and then like pushes him off the building. His necklace falls off onto the ground.
And then Predator, it jump cuts.
Yeah, he like grabs his leg, he pulls him up through the ceiling.
Yeah, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Then we don't get to hear anything about it. We don't see a dead body. We don't see anything. It just jump cuts to Danny Glover sitting in an office.
Yeah, because Danny Boy screams. He's like, I think like right before he dies, he goes, no, and then it cuts, like, and that's all you hear or see.
And then apparently a couple days isn't like a couple days have passed.
something like that. Yeah, because they're like, where'd he go? Like, what happened? And then I think they found him or something, and then they're talking about because that's when they bring up that whole list about Harrigan's like reputation, where he's like a terrible cop.
You're leaving out all the good things that he's done.
Yeah, exactly. Like
that's not the point.
He's like OCD and obsessive tendencies towards violence and this and that, and then the guy's like, well, what about bringing down the most criminals in Los Angeles history? And it's like the guy's like, yeah, they left this up to me to punish you, but I'm not going to, so just get out of here.
And then when he's on his way out, though, he sees Gary Busey. And then he chases him down and then grabs him and does this fake half-ass slap like against his own hand.
Well, and even
like,
even the grab is terrible because he grabs him by the shoulders of his coat. So when he's holding him up against the thing,
it's like, already slipping out of his hands.
Yeah, because Gary Busey's also wearing a suit that is 2 sizes too big, and so he's falling out of his coat while Danny Glover's looking at him, holding him against this pillar.
Oh
and then
gosh.
And then as he walks away, he just claps his hands like because he's all pissed off. About whatever.
But he fakes it like he's gonna slap him.
Right.
And I'm like, that's what you do to your brother when you say get out of my room.
Yeah. And then Gary Busey's character, like he just smiles. He's just like, oh, that's great.
So a little bit after that, they Bill Paxton and Danny Glover are walking away from maybe like a bar or something. I can't remember where they were coming from. And they were Danny Glover says he's gonna meet up with the Jamaicans.
Right.
And I was sitting here, and as soon as the car opened, because Nate watched it with me, and he's like, I go, oh yeah, you want to smoke that ganja? And then he goes, and then as soon as like 3 seconds later, he goes, hey, do you want the ganja? It's like such an 80s thing.
It's so perfect because like when he opens up that door and just the smoke comes billowing out, and then he's all like telling the one dude, he's like, I'm gonna go see the king of Jamaica or whatever. And
yeah,
like,
whatever.
I can't even remember his name. And then he's like, I'll call you later. And the guy's like,
man, let me come with you.
I'll call you later. And then he gets in the car. And then when he gets out, of the car later, he's all like coughing and there's smoke billowing. He's like, you guys should really cut back.
I like how a cop literally just got into this car with all these gang members smoking marijuana.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. And they had that thing hot boxed up to yin yang. Like that thing was full of smoke. I'm surprised the driver didn't crash. Like it was so full of smoke. Absolutely.
Do you
insane.
want the ganja?
And then the best part about this is when they do see this Jamaican king or whatever, they visit him in a dirty ass alleyway, like the dirtiest alleyway possible in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we were saying that too. He's like, "What is he in Gotham City?"
Yeah, dude, it was terrible. And then there was a funny thing that I know about this too. That when they were filming that scene, the residents who lived in some of those buildings were complaining about the noise and like all the bright lights and stuff. So some of them threw out bags of garbage and feces onto the crew members while they were filming that scene.
No way.
So they had to film that scene multiple times in order to get it right because all these people were just being
throwing
assholes.
Shit out there. Literal shit.
Yes. Like I mean, you look at that alleyway; it was covered in garbage. Like it was
one
terrible.
thing that was really funny though, I found it funny. Was that Predator doing the Batman gargoyle watch over?
Oh,
that
yeah,
he was just like brooding over the top of the gargoyle. I'm like, oh my god,
he's just hanging out and stuff. Oh my god, that was pretty funny. Yeah, because that was another like Predator wide shot, like where you could see him just perched on something, because he didn't have trees to hang in, so he was hanging out on top of buildings.
Yeah.
And I really liked the Jamaican King guy because I liked the way he would talk. Like he didn't really have a Jamaican accent except for when he said certain words, like other side.
The other side. Or his eyes is
look
like,
at the bones, and they tell me of the
they
other
are the
side.
same. They are the same bones.
He's throwing these little chicken bones into a barrel.
I'm like, wow, way to use like the same shot, just multiple different angles. And I'm like,
oh my god, it was terrible. Terrible.
Oh man.
Yeah, and so then Danny Glover leaves, and the Predator shows up and gets this Jamaican King kill.
Yeah.
Like he shows up and he splashes in the water. Well, first a brick falls, and then the King looks up, and then he jumps down into the water.
I will give this film credit though. It was really cool seeing him walk every single time because they did it really good.
Oh yeah.
Where the water like splashed over. It wasn't like it looked as if the water is splashing over the top of his shield.
Yes,
that was done really well.
Yeah,
I will give them credit for that.
Yeah, they did a really great job with the Predator. I'd say out of all the things in this movie that are not necessarily dated at so much, like obviously the special effects, you know, you can tell they're older, but the Predator in this movie is fantastic. Like just how well they did on that, compared to like the guns and the over top action and stuff. Like the Predator kept his cool, you know. Yeah. So yeah,
we do see the procedure of how he does clean that, though.
Yes, and then I was because that's what I was thinking too. They have that skull collection, or he's showing how he cleans the skull.
Yeah, and then he like glistens over it, just like how he does like normal.
He's all polishing it, you know, with his sharp nails and his weird spread fingers, and then he spikes the skull onto his trophy wall, and you catch a glimpse of a couple skulls, but it's really quick, so you don't get to see him.
Yeah, you don't get to see the full one.
You know?
Yeah. But also, we a little bit later, literally after that scene, we were cut right to the subway.
Yeah.
And you're.
Oh wait, no. Well,
doesn't it go right to the subway?
Before that, remember he goes to the cemetery because this is when.
That's right. I didn't write this one down.
Okay, yeah, because I made sure to jot this down because this is when the Predator. This is when he starts revealing his moral code. Yeah. Because Danny Glover goes to the cemetery to visit his dead friend who's been buried at this point.
This is Danny Boy.
And, yeah,
Danny Boy is now buried at the cemetery.
Yeah, and so he's going to go visit him just to pay his respects or whatever. And then you see this couple telling their kid to stay in the car real quick as they go.
Was that Bill Paxton though?
What?
That wasn't Bill Paxton.
No, because he's on the subway.
That's right. This is happening at the same time.
Like I think they happen. I think they happen like co-dependently or whatever. Like because he's at the graveyard, the other two are on the subway at that point.
But then Predator shows up.
But
so
yeah, because like what happens is basically what's his face is at he's at the cemetery and the Predator's tracking Danny Glover's character. Like he can see that he's kind of like a hard ass, and so he's like, okay, this guy's like he's like basically Arnold in this movie, but he's not killing him yet for whatever reason. He's just stalking him. And so he goes to the cemetery. There's this couple there, and they tell their kid to stay in the car. But the kid, being a kid, gets out of the car, and he's playing with his gun. And he pulls the trigger to the gun, which already makes gun sounds, but he's still going while he's pulling the trigger for whatever reason. He turns around, and then there's the Predator just standing in the field, invisible.
Yeah, invisible.
And then the kid's like, oh, and he drops the gun. But then the Predator aims his like little weapon or whatever. He's going to blow the kid's brains out. But then he zooms in on the gun and notices it's not real. So he's just like, I'm not going to kill him.
Yeah, and then he goes, do you want some candy?
Yeah,
and then he recorded that, which he never uses ever again.
No, he does.
He does?
I forgot about that. Yeah, because that comes up that comes up with the next scene in a minute, because I totally forgot that he did record that line. Because the kid's like, oh, do you want some candy? And then his parents call him back. Then it cuts to the subway. And then that's when the two are on the subway. We find out that
everyone packs on the subway.
Yeah,
Good God.
Yeah,
I was like, holy shit! Everyone has like a
future
full-on revolver. Like,
yeah, because there's this gang on the subway, and this is where Bill Paxton and the girl are at, and they're hanging out. Just going wherever. I can't remember exactly what
they're a whole bunch of Rush Hour Rambos.
Yeah,
from Bill Paxton.
I love Bill Paxton, man. I'm so sad he's gone.
Yeah. But, you're gonna hate what happens in the next like 15 minutes.
Yeah, because essentially they're trying to stop this gang from picking on chicks, and this dude, like, that was a line that I really liked. He God, what did I write that down? I forgot to write it down. Damn it, because the guy was like, oh, you look like God, what was it? You look like a something man. Like, I can't remember, because he was like, oh, my friend needs an operation, and you look like the guy to spare some money or something like that. Oh, yeah. But I can't remember what he says. But either way, the guy pulls out a gun. He's like, I know how to use this. And then they take it right from him. and then everybody pulls out their guns. Yeah. And then the Predator shows up, and he starts just killing people. And then when he's fighting Bill Paxton, that's when he says the candy line, because Bill Paxton, he's shooting him full of bullets, or so you think, but apparently the Predator didn't get shot at all, even though he was point blank range from him. Like,
yeah, I guess a shield, we'll say, maybe.
Yeah. Like, because some of the bullets were bouncing off of him. Maybe he was just certain. Maybe he was wearing, because he wasn't wearing armor on anywhere except for his shoulders.
I will say though, during this whole thing, Predator causes a rave light show in the subway.
Oh yes.
Good Lord, if you have any there needs to be a seizure warning in the beginning of that movie because of how much is like just flashing on the screen.
Yeah.
It's that scene from The Matrix, man. It's just like.
Oh yeah, because he short circuits the one car that those two are in, and then whatever lights are flashing in from the outside are flashing all over the place, and you can't see or make anything out. And then the dude who got mugged or sort of mugged,
he's away.
He's like, I can't see, and everybody
and then
just
everyone shoots him. It's like, what the. Out of all the things to shoot, why would you shoot the guy that's can't see?
Bill Paxton dives to him, and he's like, "You're gonna be okay," and he just immediately dies.
Oh,
so
man.
bad. And then so the Predator's just going through wasting people.
Yeah, he kills everybody.
Oh my god! And then
I don't know the body count. Hopefully, the trivia will give me the body count because my god, he.
At least 30 people, if not more.
More than 5.
Oh, absolutely. Because he killed like 10 people in the beginning, and then the Jamaicans, I think there were like 10 or so there.
Yeah, because like the first movie, he only kills, not include on screen, he only kills the guys in the army.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so it's like, or a part of Dutch's crew.
Yeah, because
that's really it. And then this one, he's like, this Predator's like mass murdering. Like he is.
This one's definitely kill happy compared to the first one,
but has more morals.
But he has a moral code. He will not kill children, and later on we'll find out that he won't kill other things too. But we'll talk about that in a little bit because it's actually coming up here in a minute because. So Bill Paxton's shooting at him, and he puts in like 3 magazines worth of bullets into the Predator.
I'm like,
Predator doesn't get shot one time, and then he's like, "What the hell are you?" And then he takes out his lucky golf ball and throws it at him. And
that's right.
That's pretty much the end of Paxton's character.
Yeah, the golf ball just like disappears. Who knows where that went? But.
Yeah, and so the chick shows up, the chick's on the subway, and she's pushing everybody towards the front of the train, right? And then,
Vámonos!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
And then,
did you know she was Mexican?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Grief.
I forgot by her over-exaggerated accent and by all the Dios míos. That she
Dios
say.
mío, come on, move it, vámonos. I'm like, dude,
terrible.
Come on. I know, I get it. Yes, you know Spanish, okay.
Yes. and she pulls the emergency brake on, and what's really funny to me is because she moves everybody up to the very front of the train, like 4 cars up, then pulls the emergency brake, as opposed to moving them up 1 car where they're not in immediate danger, and then pulling the brake there. You know, I'm sure that they all have an emergency brake. I would guess.
Yeah, no, they would definitely all have one. Maybe she was just trying to get as far away as possible. I don't know.
Yeah,
but how the hell can all those people fit in the first car? Anyway?
Yeah, and then that was the thing too, because that train was already super packed. Like there were half the people were standing up, and then half the seats were pissed or vomited on, apparently. So
and then
according to Bill Paxton, I forgot about L.A. subways. Like half the seats are either pissed on or vomited on, and you can't ever find a place to sit. But so she goes back to the back to try to find his character, and then the Predator shows up and grabs her by the neck. And then for some reason, instead of killing her immediately, he just decides to scan her and notices that she's got a baby fetus in her belly, and its heart's beating. So he's like, you know what? I'm not gonna kill this pregnant lady.
Yeah,
because
I'm just
she's
gonna
pregnant.
Scare the hell out of her and then have her pass out over that.
I'm just gonna shock her a little bit, and then it cuts to Danny Glover. I think
he shows up to the scene.
Yes, yeah,
and
he's
sees
like,
her getting into the ambulance, and then he's like, "Well, what happened?" And she's. And they're, no, because I think the doctors go, we need to get this woman in. She's pregnant. And then that's where Danny Glover goes, whose baby is that?
Yeah, because they never explain like that she even had a love life or nothing. Like that's just
who knows? It could be Danny's kid. Yeah. I don't know.
It could have been Danny Boy's kid. Who knows? I mean, shit. Because she did mention when they were gonna go try to track his killer down after he died, she was like, I loved him too. So
I wrote
it could be
Predator is better than peeing on a stick.
Yeah,
didn't kill the woman because she's pregnant.
Yes, and so
then again, we do see like one of the most brutal ways that Predator has ever. He takes the head and he just rips Bill Paxton's head out with the spine and then runs off like he just stole a cookie from the cookie jar. Because Danny's like, hey!
Because he's trying to find him in the subway or whatever, and then as he rounds the corner, when he rips the spine out, he goes, and then and the way so there's like a doorway to his left, and the way he just ducks into the doorway, it's like you were saying, it's like he got caught grabbing a cookie out of the cookie jar. You go back! Oh my god! Then I can't even remember what's Bill Paxton's character. Bill Paxton.
Yeah, he says his name.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. But then he starts a pursuit of the Predator. And then
like he's gonna hear him. No, but I just realized, like, why did he yell his name?
Right.
Like, dude, he is dead.
Yeah,
like,
I'm pretty sure
that dude's gone now.
Oh, which I did forget to mention too. When the Predator killed the Jamaican King, they do a jump cut to the Jamaican King guy screaming, and it's his face.
Oh yeah, and
his mouth
head
is open. But
that was a pretty good shot. That was a pretty good shot.
And then it zooms out to him carrying his head, and then that's when you see the skull cleaning scene or whatever.
Yeah, that one was pretty good.
That was pretty cool. But I will say though that when Glover is tracking the Predator, I thought it was really funny because the Predator basically runs up on top of a building. He climbs up to a top of a building. So Danny Glover's like, oh, instead of getting on top of a building and trying to track him that way, I'll get into a car and drive through alleyways trying to see him up on top of a building.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense because if the Predator literally could have stood in the middle of the building that he climbed up on and not left. And Danny Glover would have been halfway across the city looking for him because he had no idea where he went.
That is very true. But he did catch him.
Yeah, I was going to say, through movie magic, he somehow tracked him down because Predator decides to give away his position by destroying a sign for some reason.
Wasn't it an ad?
Yeah, it was like a Miller Lite
ad,
some
beer or something, I think.
Yeah, and he just destroys it just to break the lights, and then Danny Glover's like, oh, okay, there he is. So he gets back in the car. And
that was what was weird. He pulls up, gets out of the car, the lights explode, then the Predator takes off, then Danny gets back in the car and drives off.
Yes.
I was like, what the hell was the point of, you could have rolled the window down to see the same information.
And then immediately after he starts driving again, he gets hit by a truck, which is
that's right.
Yeah, which is Key's federal agents or whatever.
I was like, whoa, is this Mississippi burning? There's three white men jumping out of a truck taking a black man.
They grab Danny Glover. They
now?
confiscate his gun. But here's the weird part about this scene. Okay, so when they run into him with the truck, right? They slam into him, and there's only those two cars in that alleyway. When they grab Danny Glover and they take him around his car, all of a sudden there's a semi-truck parked right there, and then they take him into that secret base. And it's like, where did that semi-truck come from? It didn't pull in. Like, it wasn't there 5 seconds ago. Like, that was a really weird cut. Like, it was like they cut out... I feel like they cut out a scene from there, like, where they probably held him there, and then that truck pulled in, and it probably did da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then, yeah, and then it's like... And then the truck pulls in, and then they go and take him in. I bet they just cut a few minutes of footage there, because it makes no sense where that truck came from. And then it turned out that they had parked. So, and then this is the part that doesn't make sense. So the Predator was there, and then when they get into the base, the secret base, it turns out it's Key's like fed base.
This is Gary Busey's character.
Yeah, now. And it's a two tractor trailer. Like there's two boxes on it, and it's like a mobile battle station essentially. You know, they've got all these equipment and stuff. But when he gets in, they're getting ready to launch an attack on the Predator by going into this butcher or slaughterhouse.
Yeah,
it's
like a meat locker, essentially.
Now, the Predator was already there, but then he jumped away and left when he destroyed the sign. So then when they take Danny Glover...
No, he jumped onto the building. That was where Danny Glover last saw him, and then the truck hit him, and then so he's there in the building. Like, we do see him get there.
Okay, see, but then when
it was like a little bit before that is where the whole sign breaks and then takes off. Then he chases him, and then
that's the
Danny
thing
gets crashed.
Is when he's in that thing, they're showing him coming to the building. They're like, "Oh, we've been tracking his movements for a few days or whatever."
Yeah, because the building is like it's a warehouse, so he's in he just goes in the warehouse is what happens later.
No, but okay. So they must have been tracking him on top of that building.
Yeah, they knew he was there.
Okay.
They just were. Yeah, he wasn't inside yet.
Because the way they frame it, it makes it look like he's halfway across the city at a different location where they're sensing him, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, he comes here every 2 days or whatever
to feed."
To feed. He likes beef.
Yeah, he likes meat.
Yeah, and so it just seemed like he was like at a different part of the city when they said that, but I guess they were tracking him at that point in time.
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, and so they're setting up
because that's why it's there is because they've caught on to this is his routine. He always comes here every 2 days. So they had to set up the thing so that they knew he was going to come there.
And they were tracking him using pheromone sensors because they couldn't see him because he bends the light around his body. That's their cloaking technology, essentially.
This is also when they referred to the first Predator by talking about the weapon explosion, and there were 2 survivors from Central America.
Yes.
Which is indicating the girl and Dutch,
correct.
Which is Arnold Schwarzenegger's character.
Yes, and then that's where you see like some of the aftermath of the explosion. There's a bunch of radiation, and so like the background to that is Dutch got radiation poisoning or radiation sickness of some sort, and he was in a hospital. And then when the guy went to go talk to him, he had like went AWOL and disappeared or something like 6 months afterward, and they haven't been able to find him. So that's why he wasn't in the movie.
This is also a part where Gary Busey says the line of, we've prepared a little trap for this predator.
Yes, and
I'm like, roll the credits.
Yep, that's the only time they've ever name dropped it, at least between the first two movies. I don't know if they call him Predator in the second or in the third or the fourth movie.
We haven't gotten there yet.
But yeah, I suppose I haven't even seen the next one that we're gonna watch.
Yeah, I've never seen that one either.
So it's the newest one that came out last year.
And then Predator kills everyone while Danny Glover runs to the car and dresses up for the fight.
Yeah, so they're getting ready. Yeah, so they're getting ready for the slaughterhouse trap, where essentially the way they set it up is Gary Busey's team are wearing these heat vision resistant suits, like he can't see through them.
Yeah.
And then they have all this like nitrous oxygen that they're going to freeze the predator with to capture him.
We're going to freeze him.
Yeah, they set up the warehouse to have all this powder in it so that way it'll stick to him so they can see him. And they've got it all set up. They're going to have him lured in and blah, 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 blah. And then once they get in there, the predator realizes something's up, like he can sense it. And so he just flips a switch on his little control panel, changes his visor mode a couple times, and then can see them see their lights or whatever.
Yeah, he sees the light. He doesn't see them.
Yeah, because they have
shut the lights off. He can see you. Yeah, he can see you.
Because they have ultraviolet light.
Who is this? Get off this channel. I'm like, what the?
This is Harrigan. Shut off your lights. But
he says who he is.
Yeah,
says what he needs to say, and then Gary Busey says, "Who is this?
Yeah.
Get off this channel." And I'm like, what the hell? Wait, you clearly know who it is, and you know the information.
Yeah. And so he gets made, or their team gets made, and Predator shows up and just starts decimating people. It kills like another 8-9 people. And then Gary Busey's character is getting ready to he's trying to fire his weapon, but his cord got cut by mistake. So then he takes off his mask because he can't breathe, and he's trying to fire this nitrous oxygen or whatever. And then and then Danny Glover's suiting up for the fight. Dude, that guy's got a whole fucking armory in his back trunk. He had like AK-47s and M4s,
and
grenade launchers, shotgun. His crazy battle handheld or whatever.
The upgraded pistol.
Yeah, his Call of Duty gun, and he's getting all set. He has a bulletproof vest with like metal. He put like another metal plate inside of it in addition to the vest itself. And then so he like blows his way into the warehouse, and Predator notices him, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here! Come and get me! Hey, I'm here!" And so then Predator,
come and kill me.
And I think they were trying to pull that.
Yeah, they were gonna try to do that. Yeah.
And so Predator, being badass, looks at Danny Glover and fires his weapon at Gary Busey, not even having to look at him.
That's right.
Just so cool, because in the first one he had to look at his target. In this one he doesn't have to look at his target. Apparently, he can just aim the weapon as he sees fit. And so he I guess he locked it onto Gary Busey and then looks the other way, fires it,
because he jumps. No, he's jumping, like mid-jump, the thing fires off and then blows Gary Busey away.
And then it's like, oh no, Keyes is dead, So then we get our mini. This is our mini final battle, essentially.
Yeah, because Danny Glover shoots Predator with his trusty shotgun and then unmasks him.
Yeah, because they're running all through the warehouse.
Kills him.
Yeah,
he plays dead.
Yeah, because they're running around through there doing all their stuff. And this one was a little bit different, because when Danny Glover goes to unmask him, right?
Yeah, he goes, he says this line, though, too.
Well, yeah, because
you are one ugly and then Predator goes, motherfucker!
Yeah, because he grabs him by the throat. After he takes his mask off, he grabs him by the throat, and then it does a zoom in on Predator's face, and man, his mouth. Oh, man.
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, that's just... But the crazy part is that when the Predator gets up, his infrared's different than in the first one, because his mask is off and he still sees heat vision instead of just the straight red like he did in the first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. So for some reason in this one he still sees heat signatures as opposed to the first one, where he goes from heat vision to infrared. So, and they call it infrared even though it's heat vision, which I don't know. I guess that's infrared in a way, but maybe it's a different version. I don't really know how that works.
Well, speaking of something new, he also pulls out his frisbee of death
yes,
to kill Gary Busey.
This was his last new weapon that we didn't get to see. So Gary Busey, it turns out he's alive.
Yeah.
He jumps in. And he's like, hey, guess what, motherfucker? I'm back. And half his face is burnt off.
Yeah.
And so he's firing the nitrous oxygen at this predator or whatever. And he's like, get out of here, Harrigan. I got him. We got a score to settle. And he's chewing on something. Like
probably his tongue.
Or like half his teeth are missing. It's really weird looking. And then, and then Predator takes out this fucking disc. It's like an ultimate frisbee, and fucking just launches it, and it cuts everything in its path in half. And the crazy part about this scene is when he cuts Keys in half, only his legs fall down. You don't see his upper body fall onto the ground.
Huh.
It was really strange.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it was like he held on to the meat slices or whatever, and then got cut in half and just stayed there or something. You know, it was a really strange thing. But the Predator too. I wanted to say when Danny Glover shoots him with the shotgun, this is the first time you actually see the Predator get shot, and he gets shot like, I don't know, maybe 5 to 8 times. He's got a bunch of bullet holes in him, and he's bleeding.
Yeah, from Danny Glover.
This Predator can take a bullet, man.
Yeah,
like he's a tough son of a bitch. Like,
yeah, one ugly motherfucker too.
Yeah,
but this is also during the chase time.
Yeah,
where how did they get up to the roof?
So Danny Glover, I think it was after he kills Keys. Danny Glover's running because he kills him, and then he runs up the stairs and gets on the roof, and then
Predator runs away.
I think so. Yeah, because I think he slices him in half and then grabs his thing or whatever, and then tries to get away because he feels like he's outmatched. Maybe, I don't know. And then Danny Glover runs up there trying to track him down. And then he gets scared by birds. Like the birds, a bunch of these pigeons show up and just flat behind him. He's like, birds. Always goddamn
that's
birds.
right. That's right. They do this like weird showdown. Yeah. And Predator like throws the spear at him. And then Danny Glover takes the spear and then runs at him, but doesn't use the spear. He knocks him over.
Yeah, he does a football tackle.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck were you picking up the spear for?
Yeah, instead of running him through with it, because the Predator had his back turned because he was looking at the buildings like he was getting ready to jump off the building and go wherever. And Danny Glover grabbed the spear and then basically ironically spears him from the back, but not with the spear. Yeah. And so then they fall over the side, and then
this is where where Predator's now holding on to Danny Glover.
Yes.
And then he looks down at him. He's like, "Okay, pussy face, your move."
Yeah, which is one of the good lines.
And then I will tell you,
he's got the disc put in with his other hand.
Yeah,
too.
As soon as I see him, because then there's the next shot is Predator, and he does this thing, and you're like, "Wow, it does look like a vagina."
Dude, yeah, his inner mouth is straight up. Like they had to have.
They had to have.
Like it's so just like.
And then he says, "Shit happens."
Yeah, which was. Okay, so that was the weird thing. So he's hanging on the building, and he's got Danny Glover so the way this is set up, Danny Glover's laying on his belly, and he's laying on basically an overhang on the side of a building, and he's holding on with his other arm so that way he doesn't get pulled down. The Predator's he's got a hold of Danny Glover's arm with his left arm, and he's holding on to the building with the disc on his right arm.
Yeah.
When Danny Glover's like, make your move or whatever, and he's like, shit happens, he gets ready to set off his bomb, and Danny Glover's like, fuck no. So he reaches over and grabs the disc, pulls it out of the thing, and then cuts the Predator's arm off.
Yeah, because the disc is stuck into the building right now.
And at this point, the Predator's let go of it because he's he's trying to set his bomb or whatever, and he's going to get the last laugh. But Danny Glover luckily cuts the part of the machine in half where it's attached to his arm, cuts his arm off. Predator goes flying down the building, and he's trying to catch himself, eventually catches onto a drain pipe, and then slams into another building through the wall into somebody's bathroom.
Yeah, some old lady.
Yeah, which was really great. And then Danny Glover, he's afraid of heights because he has a weird thing in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
when he kills the first guy and he falls off the building, he's like leaning over and he's all worried about it and stuff. And then this one, he's all like, "Okay, you can do it. You can do this."
Yeah, and then birds fly out again.
Yeah,
and then that's the last time we hear about these birds.
Yeah,
and then we see Predator take out his overnight bag in the bathroom.
yes, and another great
after he falls and caters to his wounds.
I love it. Another great medical scene. So he's healing himself in this bathroom, and then I love the old lady who comes out and she's like, Harry, there's someone in the bathroom, Harry, and then she just waves her hand at him because he's obviously not going to wake up, and she has no weapons or anything, and she just
gets a broom.
Oh, that's right. She does get a broom. I forgot about that. Yeah, she gets a broom like towards the end, right before he busts out of the door.
And then because then Predator runs out like he just took the massive shit and he doesn't want her to know. And then Danny Glover comes in through the wall because he eventually gets over there. Yeah. And he goes, "It's okay, I'm a cop." And then she goes, "I don't think he gives a shit."
That's probably my favorite quote in the entire movie. That was the one I made sure to write down. I was like, I have to put that one in because that one I laughed out loud at that one.
I did too. I gave it a good chuckle. I gave it a good little chuckle there.
And I will say about the medical scene, like this one is, it's. I like this one too because it's different, but it's just as good because essentially he crushes a bunch of wall plaster and pieces of a mirror into a little
and then his magical crystal meth in this thing, and then
he puts some goop in it. It lights on fire and turns into Jello. And then he puts the Jello on his wounds, and it basically cauterizes all of his wounds like it's some kind of
And then he screams
hot
like
acid.
like a wild boar.
Yeah. And that's how the girl even noticed that he was in the bathroom. She didn't hear him crashing through the wall.
Come on, she's in her 60s.
Well, yeah, the old lady. And I'm surprised, she didn't hear him crash through the bathroom wall. She didn't hear him punch the mirror. She didn't hear him punch the other part of the wall. And
they do live in an apartment, so I mean,
well, yeah, I guess noisy neighbors,
and they live in LA, so
and then she heard the scream, and then that's when she comes out of her bedroom to go look at the bath or inspect the bathroom or whatever. But then when he breaks out, they go through this whole building chase scene, which I love chase scenes through urban buildings like this. Like in Seven, they do that.
Yeah, and then
good.
Then Danny goes into this elevator shaft, and all of a sudden the elevator starts going, and he's like, "Oh man!" And then he starts sliding down.
Stop the elevator!
Stop the elevator!
and I'm like, he's hanging on the cord on the bottom of it.
Yeah, and then he goes, and I'm like, dude, that thing only is gonna go to the first floor. It's gonna. But anyway, he drops, and then there's this manhole that he puts his arms on, and I'm like, bullshit. He ripping his arms out if he lands like that ever.
It was really strange. He basically caught it, if he put
and then
his
he
arms
dropped
out,
from it.
Yeah, because if he put his arms out into a T, that's essentially how he would have caught himself, and then he's hanging there by his arms. His arms would have come straight off had he done that, because there was nothing even really to grip onto.
He fell at least 3 or 4 stories.
Yes.
Because he had some floors still to work with before it would have squished him. And then it was about to quote unquote squish him, and then he let go of the manhole cover, and then he falls down, and this is where he finds the ship.
Yes.
Which I'm like, wait, what? Where? What?
Yeah, because for somehow the spaceship is inside of a sewer/train tunnel.
But there's a tunnel there's a sewer
underneath
thing in the elevator
into a building.
Yeah,
it's
an apartment complex.
It's really strange how it's set up. So the only thing I can assume is that the Predator, after they landed, that's where he came in. I'm guessing instead of walking out the entrance to this tunnel that they're in, he just shot a hole through the floor, or his ceiling through the floor.
If we want to say that, then I'll accept.
I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt.
I'll accept that then.
But it's really unexplained the way they set it up there. And then the funny thing too about the spaceship is that it's in this sewer/tunnel, and the spaceship is huge, but somehow it fits into this tunnel. But when Danny Glover walks out later, the tunnel is seriously the size of a train could go through it maybe, and that's it. Mm-hmm. It's not that big.
So Danny Glover is now walking down these hallways of the ship now, and he turns around, and on the wall are a whole bunch of these trophies of these heads. First off, that dinosaur monster, I don't know what the hell that is.
It looked like a T-Rex on steroids.
Yeah, but I really hope we get to see those later.
I think it had 4 eyes, based on
it almost looked like Predator, except it was a bigger head. Yeah, and then we see
dinosaurs were on Predator world. Or something.
And then we see a human skull.
Yeah,
we see a few other things, but then we see the skull that completely ties this whole season together is the xenomorph skull, which is a nod to the comic book, because the comic books came first, of Alien vs. Predator, but this is the official movie premiere of the tie-in that the xenomorphs do exist. In this timeline of the Predator movies.
Yeah, and it was such a big shock too, because Alien had already come out at this point, Alien came out in like 77, and I want to say Aliens came, or not 77, maybe 78, maybe even earlier than that. Hell, I can't even remember. It came out early. It came out in the 70s because I want to say it was like around the time of Star Wars because there was like a whole thing about like which one was better or which did space.
79.
79. Okay, so I knew it was around the same time.
And then Aliens came out in 86, so that's still a year before the first Predator.
Okay, yeah. And so essentially, and then the comics for these two versing each other, I think, was after the first Predator. So I think that was like 88, 89
By the way,
something.
Just as a side note, did you know that there's a comic book? I saw this, I shit you not, at the comic book store. Alien versus Predator versus Judge Dredd.
You know what? I might have seen that before.
Which is like, okay, let's calm ourselves here. Yeah. Anyway, that's a tangent, but
yeah, because I have an Aliens versus Superman trilogy comic volume.
Really?
Yeah. It's so crazy. Superman ends up on some planet that was overrun by xenomorphs.
Good grief. Anyway, so yes, we get the official nod that the xenomorphs exist in the Predator universe, and since we have made references to the first Predator, therefore 1 and 2 are in the Predator in the Aliens universe, and AVP officially gets a confirmation.
Yeah, and this is the only thing that's kind of weird about it though, because I guess like the xenomorph skull is kind of strange because of the fact that it's bones instead of a hollowed out exoskeleton, because the xenomorphs are like bio-arachnid style creatures, you know?
Yeah, well, I think this was also kind of just a last minute thing,
right?
Like this was never probably ever gonna go any farther than what it was supposed to be. Just like, oh yeah, if you know what this is, you know what this is, because like there were other things on that wall, but the xenomorph obviously stands out, and everyone sees that one, and you're like, dude, what? This is the thing. But yeah, eventually we get more of like an actual explanation on what their body build is and like what they're made from and this and that and the other deal. But I don't know if they explain that in the first and second Alien movies.
No, in the original like Alien trilogy, they don't really talk
just there.
Too much. Yeah, they talk a little bit about their anatomy, but you really don't get too much into it until like I think I want to say Prometheus and
because Prometheus definitely explains what's happening. But anyway,
which those will technically come first because we're watching them in chronological order. So we'll end up watching Prometheus and Alien Covenant before we end up even watching the
first
Alien movies.
So, but then this is also going back to the movie. After Danny is now seen this, he's in this like room of fog for some reason, which is like essentially he's in the Dagobah now. Like he has this like knee high like fog thing going on, and he goes toe to toe with Predator. For the final battle.
And Predator almost gets the jump on him. Like I think Danny Glover's admiring the skulls, and then he turns around and Predator nets him first. Which the net we
forgot about this though. Danny Glover does still have the disc frisbee.
Yes, he kept that as his weapon because his gun fell out of his holster when he was climbing down the pipe to catch Predator in the building. Yeah, and it like fell, and because he was saying something. He was like, "It's just like falling off a log," and then when his gun falls, he's like, "Falling off a log for 30 stories." Such a weird quote.
Yeah, like how do you know what that even is? Like, oh yeah, falling off a log. I forgot. That's what that is.
Yep. It's just like falling off a log, climbing down a drain pipe on a 30-story building. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he has this disc, and we forgot to mention when he nets the first person in the movie earlier, the net is made of like steel wire. So it cuts
constricts.
And it cuts into the dude's face. It's like Cyrax's net from Mortal Kombat, ironically enough.
Oh, hey,
so he gets Danny Glover, but before it starts constricting, he has his disc and he starts cutting through it, which I noticed a little bit of a movie flaw there when he starts cutting through the rope. One of them's already cut, but I don't know if that's because when it hit him, it had already cut from the disc, or if it was where it was supposed to be.
We'll say that.
Yeah, where it was supposed to be cut.
Yeah.
Know? But either way, he cuts through the net, and then the Predator pulls out his blade because his blade arm's still good. He's just missing his one arm, and so he's slashing at him with the blade or whatever.
Oh yeah, because we didn't say this though, but Danny Glover does cut off the arm.
Oh no!
Eventually, did we say that?
Yeah, okay, that was before he falls off the building.
Yeah, that's how he falls off.
Yeah, and so
so we are fighting a one-armed Predator at this point in time.
Yeah, and this Predator's still badass, dude. He's got 12 bullet holes in him. He's got his arm cut off, and there's a theory that I was reading about online when I was just kind of going through the synopsis, just to look at some of the stuff. where so in part of it when Danny Glover's chasing him later, after he takes his mask off, the Predator has this little breathing mask or whatever, and he's breathing into it a couple times.
He's like running with it on because he can't.
And there's a theory that it's like some kind of medical, like essentially an adrenaline booster because he's been shot so many times, and since he doesn't have his mask to help him breathe, he's like basically having a hard time. So he's like breathing this like medical stuff in because you don't see him use it anytime after he heals himself.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a theory that he was just basically like on adrenaline or whatever the entire rest of the movie. Like because I mean you look at his eyes too. Like they show his face a couple times and you see his eyes and he's fucking bugging out.
Yeah.
Like he looks like he has
that cocaine.
Up. Yeah. Exactly.
But they do fight and Danny does get on top. He does defeat the Predator.
Yeah. He
eventually
runs that disc straight into his chest.
Yeah, and then just like lets it go. That
yeah.
And then all of a sudden 9 other Predators show up and he's like, okay, who's next?
Yeah, which is like so great. I love that. And he even dropped the disc first, then he lifted up his arms. He's like, okay, who's next?
Yeah. And then the other Predators take the body and then give him a gun, and it says, I tried to get
Raphael Andolini.
Andolini. Okay, I got Raphael. I didn't know what the last name was.
Think
and
it was
1715.
Yeah, 1715.
And then because the whole thing is him referencing that the date is from the gun is from 1715.
Correct.
But what I want to know is what does the name mean? Why would you put the name there?
And this is the other thing I wanted to talk about earlier. So there's actually in part of the Predator comics, there's a whole explanation behind this. So Raphael Andolini, I can't remember if he was like a pirate. I want to say he was a pirate captain or ship captain of some sort, and he ended up on this island where they had like treasure or something, for lack of a better explanation. His crew mutinied against him, and then it turned out there was a Predator on this island as well. And so Andolini runs across the Predator and ends up fighting with him, but holds his own, doesn't die. And the Predator respects him so much that these other guys show up like in the middle of their fight and start firing at Andolini, and the Predator respected his prowess so much that he teams up with him, kills all the rest of his crew, and then in the end, Andolini gives him his gun because he helped save his life. And so the Predator keeps it as like a token. And I want to say
that's the Predator then.
Exactly. And that's the same one. Yes.
So the thing is though is that must be a real honor that that Predator gave that gun to Danny Glover.
Yes.
Interesting.
Because essentially what it was the Predator thought that this warrior was so like good that he didn't kill him. He fought alongside him, and then Raphael, I don't know if he dies in the end. He might end up getting killed somehow, but Andolini gives his gun to the Predator for saving his life, and the Predator's like, dude, like, this is an honor, man. Like, you give me a token of your appreciation.
Of your weapons?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And so then when Danny Glover beats the other Predator, that Predator shows up in the end, and he's like the big boss of this whole group that has showed up on Earth. Yeah, and he's really big. He's fucking huge.
Well,
and his hair's like.
Well, it's also like if it's from 1715, then that might be the reasoning of why he's so big. Is that he could be like a crab, where like he's a bigger guy because he's old.
Yeah, so. And you can tell he's older too because like the hairs on his head or those little spike things are gray because they're not really like hair. They're these weird tendrils or whatever. I was talking about this before we started, thinking that, like it would be really hard for a Predator to give birth because of their skull shape and stuff. But the little tendrils or whatever on his head are like dark or like a gray, and they're like a lighter color than all the rest of them. So
see,
that
makes the ending way cooler than it was.
Yes.
Because if you don't know that information, you're just like, he handed him a gun.
Yeah.
If you don't pause it to see what the name is, you don't really care. You just look at the date because that's what Danny references.
Yeah.
The Predator's obviously not going to tell him where he got it from.
Yeah, he gave it to him.
Yeah. And then the spaceship flies out and Danny Glover is like, "Oh shit!" And then he runs off, and then he has to do this and then the ship goes boom, and then he launches him. Yeah. And then Danny Glover's in whiteface and walks out of the.
Dude, his clothes are just torn to shit.
Yeah.
He is covered in ash.
Woo! Blood. Do not go in there.
Yeah, dude. He looked like he had been through some shit. And then Key's little lackey shows up in his helicopter with him. Okay, so it's like
I thought it was his boss.
Well,
I thought it was Danny Glover's boss that shows up.
Well, no, it's Keyes' like second in command because after Keyes and all the whole group get killed, it's like the last two guys that are in that truck because they show up in the helicopter or whatever, and he's like, where is he? And then Danny Glover just kind of looks at him. He's like, What did he say?
I think he says something along like, let him get away, or like,
yeah, he
like
gets
that.
pissed off and he's like, oh, we were so close. And then the cops show up to come get Glover. So then they get back in the helicopter, and as they're flying away, they have the spotlight on him or whatever.
Yeah, funny enough, the movie ends with a helicopter flying away, just like the first one.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
But anyway, that's the end of the movie right there.
Yeah.
That's a 2-hour movie summed up in an hour. So
yeah, it was a pretty wild ride. Like, and it's definitely, compared to the first one, it is more of an action movie for sure, like an 80s action style movie, like just over the top guns, over the top action, not a lot of blood and gore, but just a lot of death and destruction. And it's not nearly as suspenseful. You get right into it. So it's definitely a different feel. I mean, you can compare this later on once we get to Alien and Aliens. It's just the same thing. It's literally goes from a horror movie to an action movie, but they did it right.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's head over to the IMDb corner and let's go check out some cool trivia. So like I did in the last episode, I'm going to read off 10 of the trivia things they have here. They have 115, so if you want to go read them, just go to IMDb. We're not sponsored by them. Yeah. They're not partnered with us or anything. I just got to give credit where credit is due, because I'm literally, if it wasn't for this website, I'm reading it verbatim. So here we go.
I'm sure one or two of those things I said probably.
Yeah, you'll see. So number one here is the filming of the alley scene was troublesome for the filmmakers due to it being filmed in a very rough neighborhood. The alley was littered with garbage, most of which was used in the film.
Yeah, it was.
And plagued with large rats.
Oh.
Local residents angered by the noise created by the crew, would throw bottles and paper bags filled with feces from the windows at the crew in the alley below. Worst of all, the film crew found a dead body hidden amongst the garbage.
I didn't realize that.
Wow.
Dude, yeah, I just knew that they had problems filming in the alley. I didn't realize there was a dead body.
Number two, Arnold Schwarzenegger said no to Predator 2 in 1990 because he didn't like the new director or the new script.
Oh, see, I didn't know about that either. I just knew he didn't like. I
think I've heard about how Arnold Schwarzenegger is pretty loyal to people that he works with. So
yeah, because I just knew he didn't like the idea that it was set in the city, but I didn't know anything about the script or the director or nothing like that.
This one is warning, contains spoilers, but hey, we just spoiled the whole movie.
Yeah.
Number three here is putting the Alien 1979 skull on the trophy case on the Predator ship was an idea of director Stephen Hopkins as a way of showing off all the different species and creatures that Predator has hunted and killed. It was also a nod to the Dark Horse Alien vs. Predator comics, Dark Horse is the comic company that does make the comics for Predator, which were quite popular at the time. Since 20th Century Fox owns the Alien franchise, it was easy to obtain the rights to use Alien Head in the film. This exceeded popularity of the Alien vs. Predator series crossovers throughout the 1990s and was promptly followed by more comic books, novels, video games, toys, and eventually movies. Is that number three? Yeah, that's number three. Okay, number four. Bill Paxton is the first actor to be attacked by the T-800 Terminator in Terminator 1984 and Alien in Aliens 1986 and in Predator in this movie. Lance Harkinson is the second being assaulted by a T-800 in the Terminator 1984, the Alien Queen in 1986, and the Predator in AVP Alien vs. Predator 2004. Contrary to popular belief, not all of the characters are killed by these creatures. Paxton's character is only violently pushed away from the T-800 and abducted by the aliens. Harkinson's character is severely wounded by the Alien Queen and shot by the T-800, but neither is confirmed dead. Number five, the plot underwent a few changes in its earliest stages. Gary Busey's character, Keys, was actually intended to be Dutch, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character from the first film. Schwarzenegger was very outspoken against the sequel concept, feeling that taking it into the city was a bad idea and declined the role. Well, it was a bad idea. Number six, the spear weapon was used in the film, disappeared, and was reported stolen after filming was completed.
Oh, damn. Somebody's got that hanging up on their wall.
Yeah, somebody has that somewhere.
Dude, lucky son of a bitch.
Number seven, the Jamaican voodoo posse.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Jamaican voodoo posse.
Yeah, gangs seen in the film were based on actual gangs that were terrorizing New York City and Kansas City in the mid-late 1980s. Sorry, 1980s. Number 8, Apelia Carlio, who played Anna in the first film, has her name listed in the sequel's credits, yet doesn't seem to appear in the actual film. Look carefully during the scene inside Peter Keyes' mobile headquarters, and you'll spot her when Keyes, Gary Busey, describes how the creature activated a self-destruct device in Predator 1987. You can briefly spot Anna on one of the video screens. Carlio filmed a debriefing scene in which she talks to the camera and describes the events of the first film, but it was cut from the sequel.
Oh, okay. So that must be where because maybe I've seen like the deleted scenes or something, because that must be where I got the idea of like Keyes being the dude that sent him, because I think that's when they explain it.
Yeah. Number 9, when the Predator stalks Harrigan at which is Danny Glover's character, at the graveyard, the Predator encounters a boy with a toy machine gun, but does not kill him. When the Predator learns that the toy machine gun is fake, he lets the boy live. The Predator is known to kill those who are armed with weapons. If the boy was armed with a real machine gun, the Predator would have to have killed him. And number 10, warning, this contains spoilers. During the final with Elder Predator hands Danny Glover, here it is. The gun, dating from 1775, Jim Thomas and John Thomas have conceived an idea of a possible Predator movie which would have taken place in a time where there were no modern weapons available to combat them, much like the final of the original Predator in 1987. Interesting.
Yeah, so I guess somebody went on and just wrote a comic about it instead.
Oh, here's extra trivia. The writer of the antique flintlock pistol, which one of the Predators gives Harrigan in the end, says Raphael Andolini, 1715. A later Dark Horse comic tells the story of this character, making him a pirate who disappeared along with his crew in the Bermuda Triangle in 1718.
Oh, that's what it was.
This was also the subject of a potential sequel script written in the mid-90s. Wow, so they actually wrote it in the mid-90s, but they never did it.
I could have gone for a Predator in the 1700s.
That would have been cool. That would have been like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, because it's also, and it would have been like, it's like kind of like what they did with Back to the Future, where they go from the present, and then they go into the future, and then they would go far back into the past, because essentially they went 10 years ahead in time on this one, and then they would have gone back to the 1700s. So,
all right, I'm going to introduce a new thing. It's called Mystery Box. And I let you choose, Josh.
Oh,
which door do we open? Do we open quotes, goofs, crazy credits, or soundtracks?
Oh, goofs.
Ooh, yeah. Let's go with goofs. Goofs. We're going to go based on total views. We're going to only do 5 of these. When the Predator regains consciousness at the Slaughterhouse, resuming his chase after Harrigan, he sees Harrigan in infrared scope, a major bloop, as the Predator didn't put his mask back on. Anyone who watched the first installment and must remember, without the mask, the Predator can only see in red with only minor distinctions, i.e. hand-to-hand combat with Schwarzenegger. The Predator didn't put the mask on, his mask back on all throughout till the very end, occasionally using his respirator seen on the rooftop sequence, etc. Inside the Predator's spaceship again, he sees Harrigan down in the on the floor in infrared.
Yeah, I thought that was so strange.
Number 2, when testing the alien spear tip. Wait, what? When testing the alien spear tip, all right. The female doctor says that they the tip, the little thing. Got it. The female doctor says that they are viewing an image at 150,000 times normal magnification.
On like an 800 by 600
However,
monitor.
when the camera cuts back to the doctor at this point, at the point at which she says magnification, her lips aren't moving.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Weird.
Number 3, when the Predator regains consciousness at the Slaughterhouse. Well, okay, this is kind of the same thing. Before Scorpio is killed, who's that?
That might be Danny Boy, maybe?
He shoots his guns and nearly kills a cop in the hallway. Oh, this is one of the gang people.
Oh, yeah. I think this is when he bursts out of the door after Predator
this is the gang member.
Yeah, in the very beginning when the Predator murders the first gang, there's one gang member who breaks out through the doors, and this is the one that Danny Glover's character kills on the building.
When Scorpio runs to the top of the roof and when he can see it from the... What is that? They misspelled it? Okay.
Yeah, they put
the Predator's view, his guns are not showing any heat on at all. Oh, yeah, because he was shooting it, so the gun should have...
Yeah. They should have had, like, a heat signature of some sort. Just proves they're all toy guns.
I'm just going to make this one the last one. I'll count that other one. During the sequence where the Special Forces team is attempting to trap the alien, several shots were edited to go back and forth between the team and the ops center. When we first see the monitors, a little over 2 minutes have been recorded. When next we see one of the monitors, it shows only about 1.5 minutes have elapsed.
Oh, weird.
So, like, that's some very minor things.
Yeah, just little tidbits and details that you can tell they kind of screwed up. Because obviously, like, with different directors and writers, it's not going to be good continuity.
But this comes down to one of my favorite segments is taglines. Here we go. Pull over, park, and pray.
Oh my God.
Lions, tigers, bears. Oh my! Which is said in the movie.
I totally forgot because Gary Busey says that because he's hunting you. You know, it's lions, or because he says something about it being a jungle, and he's like, there's lions, tigers, bears. Oh my! You're the lion, and this is his jungle.
Yeah. He's in town with a few days to kill.
Oh, my God.
Silent, invisible, invincible. He's in town with a few days to kill. Hunting season is open again.
I love those ones where they're like, I got it. I'll take one from the first movie and just add again.
Yeah. The ultimate hunter. This time he's coming to a different kind of jungle.
That's the one that I remember.
This time. Los Angeles, 1997. Oh my gosh!
One of my favorite things about movies made in the late 80s, early 90s is what Los Angeles was going to be like in 97, because that seems to be a pinnacle of Los Angeles.
It's either Los Angeles or New York City.
Yeah, and they always, in 1997, it's always 97, and it's always like, why is 97 such a terrible year in the future, you know?
Or the release date for this movie was November 21st, 1990. Box office, the budget was $35 million estimated. Opening weekend only opened up to $8,794,943, but grossed worldwide with $57,120,318.
Oh, good deal. Okay, at least it made its budget back.
Yeah. A couple tech specs. Runtime is 1 hour and 48 minutes.
Exactly, like because on when I was watching it on my computer or whatever, it said 148.00, and I was like, "Damn, right on the
dot." Negative format was 35 millimeter film, and was printed to 35 millimeter and then blown up to 70 millimeter film.
That was like the first one.
Yeah, they also have. If you guys want to see way tech specs, then go over to IMDb and go. Just scroll down. It's right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it comes down to our final thing, and something that we weren't able to do the last one because we only had one movie. So right now, number one, the Primal movie is Predator.
Yeah, and so, well, what did you rank the first one at? Let's just like go over, because we both ranked the first one.
Yeah. Oh, so we are going to do the numbers?
Well, I guess I guess just for clarity's sake,
okay,
just so that way we know, way we have something to reference.
The numbers that we are going to give it are based on pretty much just if there ever becomes a tie. So right now, I gave Predator an 8. The first movie an 8.
Okay, and then I gave it a 9.
Because we're only going based on like the IMDb thing because they're only whole numbers, and I feel like in the long run that's probably going to help us out better.
Yeah, it'll be easier to do the math. I think.
Yeah. So Predator from me got an 8. Josh said he gave it a 9, which equals out to an 8.5.
Okay, yeah, and so that'll be essentially our movie combat score.
Yes, movie combat score. So right now, I gave Predator 2 a 6.
Oh, okay. I gave it a 7.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's at a 6.5.
Okay, yeah, and that sounds about right to me because and I guess just to explain, the reason why I gave it a 7 is it's obviously not as good as the first one. Most sequels are like that. You're definitely going to get your sequel itis, I guess is what they call it, or something like that. You know, your sophomore blues, whatever. And so the only reason why I give this one a 7 is because the movie's still fun and it's really entertaining, but just the lack of technicality kind of stuff, you know, like where the way the guns sound, the over the top action sometimes is a little jaunting. Like it can be just a little too much. You know, it's like, okay, I need this movie to slow down and take a breather.
It felt like
this
second. Movie was on cocaine.
Yeah,
like it was just a lot happening.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it didn't really have a plot. Really,
no.
Like the first movie has kind of a reason of A, why they're there,
mm-hmm.
B, why they're leaving, and C, okay, we really gotta leave now.
Yeah,
like they had a plot before the plot even began.
Yeah, essentially it was a covert ops movie, and then midway through it switches into a monster movie kind of horror movie.
Because like with Danny Glover, he's just a cop trying to solve a crime, and for some reason Predator has like some sort of thing that he has for him, and then he kind of loses interest in him, and then Gary Busey has to explain like he's attracted to violence, and you're like, what the fuck does that even mean?
It's kind of a weird thing, like,
which I guess explains why he shows up on the train, but like why would he go there? Why would he go there?
How would he even know that? Did he use his predator sense?
Yeah, but even then, they're in a giant tunnel.
Right.
So, like, what? He saw through concrete that they all had guns?
Yeah. And it jumped onto a moving train. Like, where was he at to, like, jump onto that train?
No, there's a lot of, like, loopholes and things.
Right.
I think it's okay. It's an
like,
okay
yeah,
movie.
The plot's terrible. Great. Like, there is no plot, really. And then the other problem, too, with the plot, I guess, essentially, is that there's no memorable characters other than Danny Glover. And
we don't even remember his name.
Right. And then maybe a couple things that Keyes does, and then that's about it. Like, and Bill Paxton's terrible jokes. Like, I don't remember anything else that Bill Paxton did besides tell terrible jokes and throw his golf ball.
And make very highly very inappropriate 2019 things.
Like nowadays, like some of the stuff he said,
he would not be working at a police officer.
And then just like Danny Glover's character was cool, but like you know, like you said, we don't remember his name half the time. We don't know half the characters' names. I only know Keyes because I was like, Gary Busey, and Gary Busey's funny to me for whatever reason. Just
he has a weird laugh,
weird
smile.
Yeah, and he's got that like weird like horse jaw teeth thing, and then his son has it too. It's really funny, Jake Busey. And then too, he's just crazy. So like,
he's just crazy.
Yeah, like Gary Busey's crazy.
Do you remember when Gary Busey had a TV show?
I think so.
Yeah, that was weird.
That sounds familiar.
That was really weird. That was a weird early aughts show that came out. Anyway, that was an MTV thing, I think.
Yeah, and so overall, it's just not as memorable as the first one. Like, not great. It has a few good one-liners, but not as many. It's hard to quote because there's not as many memorable lines in it, like just general lines. Because even Predator, even other than the one-liners, you can still quote some of the movie, like. Even just like some of the serious parts or whatever, like the part where the lady's like, oh, when you hit it, you know, like its blood was on the leaves, you know, and then that's when he says his one-liner or whatever. But
if it bleeds, we could kill it.
Yeah, and so there's nothing like that in this movie other than the one cop line.
Chop my
like,
dick and shove it up my ass.
Then something like that, you know. So, but
man.
But yeah, overall, it's still a fun movie. It's got some good action in it.
If we were going based on our old rating system, which I think we'll just throw in here, it's a borrow. It would land on our borrow.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good borrow movie.
Own the first one.
Yeah.
Borrow the
borrow
second.
this one, yes.
Yeah, or even rent it if you can't borrow it.
Because an 8.5 from us is a marvelous movie. I think which I think is the first one.
Well,
the first one is a marvelous movie.
And the other thing too, I can't remember if I said this earlier. Oh, well, yeah, I guess I did. I started it off where the other thing too that like makes my score a little bit lower is just simply for the fact that it just looks like an 80s/90s movie shot in the 80s/90s. Whereas 1987's Predator looks like a movie that could be filmed at any point in time.
Yeah,
other than just some of the bad
and
special
also
effects.
To be fair with it is like, because they're in the jungle,
Yeah.
they're able to not be technological. Like,
yeah, it's easier to get away with
Yeah.
some of that stuff, and so it's just
well, also
it's
they
really
didn't blatantly
timeless.
just throw out the year, right? They
Yeah.
didn't even say the year in the first one, I don't think.
That's true, yeah, and so because they basically and they didn't technically say the year in the second one. They just said that it was 10 years after.
I thought they did because it says like L.A. 1997.
Oh no, you're right. I forgot about the news reports.
Yeah.
yeah, the news reports say that. Yeah, because Keys when
I
he's
think they even just show the white text of it too.
when
They're panning over, like when Predator 2 shows
oh
up.
I
and
missed
then
it.
And then they just are panning over the shot. It says
Oh,
like Los Angeles.
I must have missed that. I was
yeah.
writing notes at that point then.
Yeah,
I
there
guess.
were some times where I looked down. That's why I didn't remember how he got down there. He's like,
Oh,
and
okay,
then I
yeah.
remembered, oh yeah, he speared him, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, there you go. 6.5 for average, which is a Barrow film, and I think it's definitely something that you should probably see once at least if you're a Predator movie, and if you've probably already seen it since you're listening to this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. We went a little bit longer than the last one, but I also had more notes on this one for some reason.
Well, it's just it was just so much.
Even
more
though the other
fun,
one was longer.
You know? Yeah, the first movie's like good to get into. This one's just a fun movie to watch.
Yeah.
Like this is why I wanted to watch it initially with you because we haven't watched these two movies together. Like we watched them on our own, and so like some of these movies, and since you hadn't seen it, that's why I wanted to watch because I was like, I know this one's so just like overly over the top that it was just goofy as fuck, and it was like, oh man, I would have loved to see your reactions to some of the stuff in it, but yeah, this one's like a really good movie where if like you've got a couple buds and you guys are drinking, you're like, what should we do? Oh, I got an idea. Let's put on Predator 2. Like that's the kind of movie this is. It's just a great movie to laugh at and have fun with and just enjoy for the sake of enjoying it as opposed to enjoying it for such a great film that like the first one is. So that's my 2 cents.
All right. Well, our next movie is going to be Predators, which is
No, I thought it was The Predator.
Nope. It's Predators.
Are you sure?
Yep, that's what it says right here.
Yeah, because I read when I was reading the thingy or whatever, the chronology, I thought they said that it was supposed to be between.
No, right here. See? Predators and then The Predator.
That's weird, because the one that I read said that he placed it in between the
I mean, if we're jumping timelines,
Well,
like,
here, let me just see, because
Okay.
I just want to see the list that I had.
well, it says both of them are set in the modern time. Well, The Predator literally came out last year?
Yeah.
So then, yeah, because Predators is 2010.
Right, but I'm just talking about.
Oh
like,
my
movie-
God! No way! Topher Grace is in this movie.
in Predators. Yeah.
Oh no!
You didn't know that?
Machete is in this movie.
Yeah. I could have swore that.
Lawrence Fishburne's in this movie. Damn,
Yeah,
this
there's
is
a lot of people in it.
yikes.
Wait, because this one, the AVP timeline's AVP's the one that's supposed to come next.
AVP's the one that comes next.
That's what it says on the app at least, and then
And what app?
in the IMDb.
Oh, on IMDb.
Yeah, see,
Well,
this,
is
this
that
one's
in-
listing it in the wrong order too. Predator, Predator 2, Aliens, or AVP 2, then The Predator, then Predators, then Prometheus, Alien Covenant.
Oh
so
boy.
So is this the right timeline then?
I don't
Because
know.
this
That's
is
why I'm
also-
saying we gotta pick one. Are we gonna just go based on this one?
Okay, wait.
Because I think the thing is what they're saying is that Predators is set in modern and The Predator is set in the modern as well. So because of that, Predators, since it came out in 2010, predates The Predator because it's in 20.
So
18,
I vote
2017.
since we're doing all this stuff on IMDb, I vote we go with this.
Okay, so what does
list.
IMDb say?
So IMDb says AVP is next.
Okay,
Because-
so there we go.
Yeah, because it says right here, although never intended to share the same movie universe, these two franchises are now linked thanks to two crossover films. The list puts the films of Alien Predator chronological order, including the semi-prequel to Alien Prometheus. This list shows how the individual movies reference each other and establish a shared universe.
Where do you see that at?
This is on the app, so it's just explaining it right above it.
Okay, and then
So-
where's the timeline thing?
So it was just listed in whatever order. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, hold on. Yeah, so it just goes Predator, Predator 2, AVP.
Oh wow, they actually
AVP
have the
Requiem.
thing too.
Yeah, and so it's all
Okay.
it's all just in.
All right,
in
so what's the next
order.
movie?
So AVP looks like the next
AVP is the next one. So
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen,
Which-
your homework is Alien versus
one. Which
Predator.
that does make sense because that does. I want to say the movie does take place like around now.
Well, 2005 now.
Yeah. Yeah, like within the last 20 years.
Yeah. So, Alien vs. Predator is your guys' homework. Go and watch that now after this podcast, and then tune in with us next week as we talk about Alien vs. Predator.
Okay, yeah. See, here's the part that I read right here, where it says it's intended to be set between Predator 2 and Predators.
Oh, okay. So yeah, let's save that somehow.
Okay, yeah. Let's just go with this order then. So
we're gonna go based on IMDb's thing. All right, AVP is next. We will see you guys in the next episode.
You guys are gonna have fun watching that one.
I remember some fond memories from this. I saw this movie in theaters.
Yeah, so did I.
All right, here we go. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, laters.